Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is Bill Holter. He is a precious metals broker and a partner at Jim Sinclair at jsmindset.com. Bill, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
Do you find it odd, Bill, that a lot of these mainstream outlets, they're never talking about precious metals? Like we have cryptos came out that is basically crashing this week and nobody's talking about silver or gold.
Nothing about the mainstream media surprises me. I'm on the record saying that the easiest way to decipher something true versus false is whatever side mainstream media takes is wrong.
Mhm.
For mainstream media to ignore gold and silver, why would that? I mean, we've been doing this for 20 years plus. It does not surprise me at all because the official narrative has been dollar good, gold / silver bad.
Mhm.
So, you know, they're not going to say anything about gold or silver. They're not going to bring it up. They don't want any questions asked because it is the exit. Gold and silver are the exit. And, the powers that be fully understand that. And they don't want people to understand that the way out from in front of trouble is gold and silver.
Well, that's what yeah, I don't really watch CNBC that much anymore or much at all. I see a lot of clips on social media of CNBC, but it seems like the only time they bring up gold, uh, for example, is when they're talking about Bitcoin or other cryptos, and it's always to cast gold as sort of this archaic old thing that is being replaced, and that's been sort of the narrative the past couple of years. The only time gold gets brought up is in sort of contrast to Bitcoin. But we've had this sort of crypto Bitcoin crash in the past couple of months. Bitcoin's down, 60 some odd percent, maybe more if someone wants to do the math. But you haven't seen that narrative change. They're not talking about gold or silver in any sort of positive light. Gold's held up it's been one of the best performing assets this year. It's up slightly, whereas most of the market is down. Tech has crashed, crypto's crashed, gold's up a few percentage points. Why is that?
Well, gold and oil are the only two things really that are up this year. Understand this crypto crash. It's price. I mean, you're seeing the cryptos crashing price wise. They're down anywhere from 60 to 90% from their highs. But the real key in the crypto market now is you've got exchanges themselves that are going under. You have stablecoins that have broken the buck. You have exchanges that are telling people you can't have your money. I mean, that is a disaster waiting to happen. On top of that, something else that's going on that has gotten almost no press at all is that there are actually bank runs now in China. It started 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it turns out these QR codes turn red. In other words, you're not allowed to leave your vicinity. If you're somebody who lost money and planning to go protest, your QR code's red, and then they just haul you away.
That's crazy.
So there's your danger right there on QR codes, is that they can prevent you from protesting. They can prevent you from leaving your immediate area. They can prevent you from going to another area to buy food or what have you. So I mean, that's another thing that the media has completely ignored. And trust me, a bank run in China is, I mean, if this spreads, you're looking at game over.
I've been tweeting some of those videos. Ivan's found some of all those huge lines in China. They're limiting the amounts of money that people can take out of their accounts. And like you said, if you get on the bad list, they'll just turn your health code red instead of green, and you're automatically quarantined. I've heard stories of that. It's kind of crazy. And back to what you said about the crypto exchanges, though, I found that really interesting. The whole narrative behind crypto is be your, they've tried to adopt the same language as the silver, as the gold market, be your own bank, right? If you want to separate yourself from the banking system. But when the crypto exchanges are doing these types of things where they limit withdrawals or they limit access to your own crypto, currency, doesn't it sort of destroy that narrative that crypto is a replacement for physical gold or physical silver?
Yeah, because you have an intermediary between you and your money. Mm-hmm. So you're not, in fact, your own central bank. You're not your own bank. Gold in hand, silver in hand, or even vaulted in a private non-bank vault. It's out of the system. There's nothing that can stop you from liquidating it and using those funds to do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. In the case of these exchanges with the cryptocurrencies, I mean, there's obstacles, mm-hmm. and you have counterparty risk, and they're just now finding out about counterparty risk, not to mention that the supposed asset itself is digital air. I think when all is said and done, we're going to find out that these cryptocurrencies are actually less than what tulips were, because tulips were an actual, a bulb, a flower.
Yeah.
Find out that cryptos are nothing but digital air. I mean, look at the NFTs. You've got some of the NFTs that are down 99%. So, the whole world is la la land. Across the board, across social issues, you name it, the entire world is whacked out. The entire world is in the midst of having a mental breakdown. We'll put it that way.
It does seem, everyone does get the sense that something seems to be breaking right now globally. I mean, it's the system seems to be flying apart. It seems. I don't know if it's, if this is a symptom or if this is the root. We talk about what's the root cause of all this. Whether is it energy? Is it the money? Is it what the crazy central banks are doing? It's probably a little bit of everything. But it does.
It's the money itself.
Yeah.
It's the money itself. I mean, think about this. You now have central banks that if you look at their books, you mark everything to market, they're insolvent. All the central banks, all the Western central banks, the Fed, the ECB, the Bank of England, Bank of Japan, they're all insolvent. Then go one step further and you look at sovereign treasuries across the world. They're basically bankrupt. I mean, they cannot open their doors January 1st or even tomorrow morning if they can't borrow more money, because we live in a world where nothing will work unless central banks can continue to borrow money, because everything runs on credit. So that's your root cause of it all right there.
Well, that leads to the next thing I wanted to get into. The Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell this week in front of Congress was talking about, right now the balance sheet of the Fed is at $9 trillion. And he's been making some comments that they're going to sell it down by 2.5 to 3 trillion. And
can't do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think they can do it either. But at the same time, the US government is running deficits, which require new treasuries to be issued. So you got to ask yourself, the Fed used to be the biggest buyer of treasury bonds. So if they're selling 2 or 3 trillion of bonds, and the US government has to keep selling bonds to finance deficits, and the biggest buyer is now removed from the market, who's this fictional entity that's going to be all of a sudden buying all these bonds that both the Fed and the US Treasury are both selling?
Well, unless they cook the books, there is no fictional entity. I mean, there's no buyer. I mean, as soon as they said that they were going to draw down their balance sheet, my first question was, who are they going to sell to?
Yeah.
Who's the Treasury going to sell to?
At what interest rate is necessary to attract private buyers? And it's not the current 2 or 3%. It's not that interest rate. I mean, it's probably something much higher at 6, 7, 10% that would be necessary to draw enough private investors in to finance all this.
Yeah, it might even be 15 or 20% or more. Who knows? But the bottom line is you've already got the financial system beginning to choke with interest rates rising from 0.5% to 1% up to the current just over 3%. The financial markets are already liquidity's tightening up. The financial markets are starting to choke. What happens at 4, 5, 6? We'll never get to 5 or 6%. The whole house of cards will come down long before interest rates find a true clearing price.
So what do you think the next stage of this process is? I mean, is it the Fed has to get, is the Fed going to meet reality that the liquidity dries up and the Fed has to pause and then go back to easy money and just ignore inflation? Is that the next stage of this game?
That would be the only way to hold the system up, is to start QE up again. And that's what QE to infinity is all about. They started it. They put the patient on life support in 2008, 2009, never took the patient off life support. Now they're saying they're going to pull the plug and they're going to have to jam it back in the wall. And the amount of QE will have to be much more than it was the last time around. I mean, just look at deficit numbers. Look at each time they've had to come and reliquefy the system. Every time is larger and larger. And this is going to be the mother of all quantitative easings. Yeah. Will it work? I highly doubt it, but it might buy them a couple weeks or a month or who knows. But they're going to have to start lowering rates again. There's no question about it.
As gold and silver investors, people who are looking for these next triggers for what's going to launch gold or silver up to the next level, is that it? We're waiting for the Fed to sort of have to pause and go back to QE, and that's what you think the trigger is going to be for gold and silver to launch?
Yeah, that could be a trigger, one of the triggers. I mean, another trigger, look what Russia and China are doing. Basically, they're bifurcating the world's monetary system east and west. Mm-hmm. West with fake fiat currency, and the east with currencies that will have some sort of oil, gold / commodity backing. Mm-hmm. So what you're seeing is the use of the dollar for trade settlement is being chipped away at pretty rapidly. And I mean, it's like you're kind of asking, what's the snowflake it's going to cause the avalanche? I have no idea. But I mean, all you have to do is look around. Anything and everything is going in the wrong direction. Which one thing is it going to be? I don't know. I mean, it could be World War III. And it does look like NATO and the US are definitely pushing with this stunt, Lithuania cutting off Kaliningrad. I mean, do you really think Putin's going to stand back and say, okay, well, we'll just turn something over that's been, Russian for the last 70 years? I don't think so. I think Putin has had enough. And basically that's what Russia has been saying is, we're done. We've had enough. We're not going to be pushed anymore. So, take your pick. It could be, I mean, there's a dozen different potentials out there. Could it be a U.S. bank goes under? Could it be huge bank runs in China? Who knows? It could be something as stupid as Biden caught on hot mic. Who knows? I mean, yeah. The point being, everything is so fragile right now, and it is such a house of cards built on a foundation of sand that this thing is gonna come down. Why? There's no way to tell.
So as silver and gold investors, what you see this attitude on Wall Street Silver on our Reddit community. Some people are crying all the time, but why isn't silver or gold up? Other people take the attitude of, hey, if it's cheap right now, take advantage of it. This is the last chance you're going to get. Buy as much as you can while it's artificially cheap, because this ain't going to last. Is that sort of the attitude you're taking at this point?
Well, my attitude toward that is, anybody who's whining about it, I just tell them, shut up and sell your silver and go away.
We'll take
because
it. I'll take
You're
it.
holding gold, and you're holding silver for, at this point, you're holding it for the end game.
Right.
You're holding it for the very end. And what we're looking at is the end of empire. That's what's happening in the West. That's what's happening in the US. It is end of empire. So do you want to go through that end of empire sitting on dollars or euros or yen or what have you? Or do you want to sit on real money, God's money, gold and silver? I mean, if you're doing this to protect yourself and get yourself into whatever the next system is going to look like with real wealth, there's only two ways to do it: gold and silver.
You know, that's a good point, what you just brought up with the yen and the euro. The gold is already setting new highs against the yen and the euro. It's at all-time highs right now.
Right.
And we'll add that chart to the screen. You know, so in dollar terms, yes, we're about what, $200 below the high, all-time high. But I think it's just a matter of time before it happens in dollars also. You know, right now the yen is totally falling apart. They've reached the end game. The market's lost confidence in what the Japanese central bank's doing with their yield curve control and their unlimited QE. Europe's having all these problems where they can't stop QE because they've got to keep supporting Greece, Italy, Spain, and those other basket case countries. It's just a matter of time here for the US. We're going to follow. But right now, you know, the dollar looks like the least worst in the dirty laundry basket, right? That's what's the only thing holding us back at this point.
The bottom line is it's math. You're already seeing central banks stuck. Mm-hmm. And the Federal Reserve is also stuck. It's mathematics at this point. It's game over. There is no way out.
Well, on that note, Mr. Bill Holter, I want to thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it and your insight in what's going on in the gold and silver markets. And we're definitely going to have you back as this plays out over the next couple of months.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.